Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I am here with the National Poetry Month tag. As you may or may not know, April is National Poetry Month in America, and I must say that in the last 3 years, poetry has begun to grow on me. So I'm really happy that I'm participating in this tag. Toward the end of the month, but better late than never, I say. I was tagged by Grace from GraceLibby. She created the tag, and I'm quite ecstatic that she did so. And here we go with the questions. Number 1, do you like to read poetry? Yes, I do. I would say that I prefer reading poetry, and I prefer to write prose. But I feel poetry began to grow on me after going over it in Dr. Bourdalin's American literature classes. I feel that through these classes, I was able to learn that poetry has no boundaries. Just like literature in general, there are no boundaries, and you can be really creative with what you write. And after reading Howell in American Literature 2, No Boundaries went to a completely different level. Number 2 is, who is your favorite poet? I have plenty of favorite poets. I'll name a nice batch of them for you. There's Robert Frost, Ko-Un, Edgar Allan Poe, Czesław Miłosz, Anne Sexton, William Wordsworth, Sappho, Paul Durkin, W.B. Yeats, Seamus Heaney, Allen Ginsberg, and Nipsey Russell as a spoken poet. Next one is, what is your favorite book of poetry? Whether it be an individual poet or an anthology. For that, I chose This Side of Time by Ko-Un. I feel that Ko-Un is in need of winning the Nobel Prize in Literature. I think that his poetry is magnificent. They are really short, but really powerful. And that is what I look for in outstanding poetry. Next one is there a specific style or type of poetry that you like best? I just look for specific traits in poems. Is it attention-grabbing? Is it catchy? Is it original? Is it thought-provoking? I feel that if there is a little bit of each, I feel that you have an outstanding poem, and that's what I look for in my poetry. I just don't want something that is a cliche, and I think that if it rhymes or follows a traditional scheme, it's got to be creative. It's got to be something that is relatively original and is not forced in any way. Number 5, do you write poetry? I don't really write too much poetry. The only poems I've written were either assigned or if I had to fit it in with something I was writing. But I've flirted with writing it on my own, but aside from that, I tend to write much more prose. Next is, have you ever attended a poetry reading? I have attended poetry slams that are annually held at my high school, and I've attended open mic nights. Since just about all of them were operated by the English department or with an English Honor Society or the literary magazine, Most of the open mic nights were the reciting of poems and, in some cases, short works. Next one. Did you participate in Poem in Your Pocket Day? Unfortunately, I did not. It sounds like such an exciting idea where you print out a poem, put it in your pocket, and share it with people that you come across during the day. Perhaps in the future. Next is, why do you think poetry is important? It's the same question that my British Literature 2 instructor asked to close out her class. Her name is Professor Sullivan. And the response she gave is that we read poetry because it makes us human. I agree completely, and I would add that poetry is a reflection of the human thought, and it's probably the most accurate way to measure what someone is thinking or feeling in a way that research only can touch upon. It could only make a broad generalization. Poetry can dive deep below the surface and actually come up with quite an accurate response. And number 9, who do I tag? I tag anybody that loves poetry. I'm going to close off with a recited poem that Nipsey Russell once said. The opposite of pro is con, that fact is clearly seen. If progress means move forward, then what does Congress mean? Thank you, and keep reading.